Welcome back to the program. Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, has reiterated that the Technical Subcommittee on the Crude and Refined Product Sales in Naira is proceeding with the implementation of the federal government's initiative to conduct crude oil and refined product transactions in Naira. The arrangement is part of President Bola Tinubu's broader economic strategy to stabilize the Naira, improve energy security, and deepen local value addition within Nigeria's petroleum sector. It also looks like the minister is satisfied with the level of interagency collaboration and involvement of relevant stakeholders. For Nigerians, the policy's outcome will influence daily life, from fuel pump prices to business costs. Engagement and transparency will be crucial in navigating the challenges and maximizing the benefits of this initiative. In a related development, Dangote Petroleum Refinery has slashed the gantry price premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, to 825 naira per litre from 835 naira per litre as competition continues in the domestic market. These are more our focus tonight as energy and consultants and business consultant Dan Kule helps us with some perspectives tonight, and I hope time permits us to dissect all these issues one after another. Mr. Kule, good evening to you. Thanks a lot for joining us on Politics Tonight. Thank you.
And thank you very much, madam, and thank you very much for the audience at home and globally.
Right.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. So what the Minister of Finance has said is that in a few days or a few months from now, we would have the implementation of the federal government's initiative to conduct crude oil and refined product transactions in Naira. So this is a huge progress from our last conversation. I mean, as at that time, the federal government just halted this initiative, and the conversation we had was about whether or not there was going to be a renegotiation. If indeed there would be a full implementation, for you, how important is this to the petroleum industry?
Yeah, thank you very much, madam. You know, we are just riding on the situation, the trend. You can see what President Donald Trump have done in America. So President Tinubu has just taken a cue by saying, okay, if America, that was the leader of open economy, open market, universality of trade, if that same America now say, oh, they want to protect their own, America first. So the president of Nigeria has just taken a cue, very good cue for that matter, that Nigeria first. So by that extension, you are now saying we have crude, we invested money in producing crude, and we are going to sell crude to our people in Naira. So we can export crude for dollar because we need dollar. But first, Nigeria, we give crude to Nigeria in Naira. So anybody in Nigeria who has refinery that is functional, and they allocate crude to him, he pays in Naira. So, and he sells also in Naira. The metrics of the pricing plates and marginal cost and marginal revenue will be an internal matter. But this broad-based policy is very welcome. It's just an alignment with the new spirit of the global environment. Home first. Protect your home first.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds very interesting. But, you know, if I'm to go by the books, and it's important for me to say that because in Nigeria, the books are always perfect. Documentation is always fantastic. But, you know, we always miss it when it comes to practical implementation of our policies, of our initiatives. So, by the books, the Crude and Refined Product Sales in Naira initiative is not a temporary or time-bound intervention, but a key policy directive designed to support sustainable local refining, bolster energy security, reduce reliance on foreign exchange in the domestic petroleum market. Do you foresee a challenge?
Yes, madam. The weak point for a developing country like ours is that we don't have comparative advantage and competitive advantage in the production of anything. So you have cocoa, you have good soil, but you don't have technology and managerial skill to bring out the food from the soil. You have crude oil, you don't have technology to bring out competitively compared to America or Saudi Arabia or somewhere else. So the only obstacle, the only challenges we are going to have is how we are going to attract more investment to produce more crude so that you will have margin, headroom to allocate crude to for your domestic use, for your energy security at home, while you are maintaining a balance of certain quantum of your daily production of crude that will go to the international market to enable you earn more dollars, which you need is a circle to again service all the productive sector that you are bringing the input, production input from outside, because you need to pay for them in dollar or in euro or in Chinese yuan. So the issue here, the balancing here, that is why some of us are very happy with the recent event. In the last 1 month, you will see that the shape is beginning to crystallize, the changes in NNPC. So we are going to, and then with the new acquisition of ExxonMobil, with the new acquisition of Shell asset by Renaissance, ExxonMobil by Seplat. So you are going to see new drive up in crude production. And once you have increased production in excess of 2 million barrels per day, you will have headroom to allocate crude in Naira to your domestic refineries so as to secure your domestic consumption and market. So then you will have room to export enough to earn dollar to meet your obligations. So at the moment, we are at a crossroad at the moment. It's not very palatable at the moment. It requires a lot of careful management. But it's a transitional issue. It's not something we can achieve in one day. So we need to be patient, but we must get the regulators and the operators to give us a timetable that is transparent of how we are going to transit gradually from 1.6 million barrels thereabout per day to 2 million to 2.5 and to 3 million barrels. So it's neither here nor here, madam, but we have to take the step, and that's why I'm happy with the president. We have taken the step. It's a bold one, but we must support it with a lot of fueling. You know what I mean by fueling, energy and agility.
And
so
talking
not just pronouncing the policy and then you now lay back. No. Yeah.
So talking about attracting more investments, I wonder how the president is faring in that regard.
Madam, let me be very clear with you. Internally, within Nigeria, we have capability to put some investment in place. When the industry landscape, oil and gas industry landscape, is properly laid out with competent, core competent people, with transparent industry framework, internally, you can attract some investment internally. That's what has happened now. Renaissance and Seplat, Aradel, all of them now, they are coming in. And from the steps the president is taking now, it is the trust of the leaders of the industry. When the public have confidence and trust in the leadership of the industry, investment will come internally. Aliko Dangote alone, Dangote industry alone, you can see the investment they have made. So that is already a solid foundation that there can be such investment in this country. So when you do it right at home, like the Japanese adage, think locally, do it locally first before you go global. So when we do it properly at home, spread it over the next 1, 2, 3 years, you will see, you will attract more foreign investors because they will now believe in what you are doing. They will now say, oh, President Tinubu and his team, I think they are serious. Just take what has happened in NNPC now. The team you have in NNPC now will attract investment locally and internationally.
So we'll get to that team in a moment.
So it will come. It will come.
But of course, the last time we talked about Naira for crude policy, Dangote Refinery slashed its petrol price from 865 Naira to 835 Naira. And I asked if it was doing us a favor. That conversation generated some back and forth between yourself and Mr. Odafe, who was the other resource person. And he felt that as blessed as we are, we should not even be buying petrol for 100 Naira per liter. According to him, it should be 50 Naira per liter. again, the conversation about Naira for crude is on, and Dangote Refinery has slashed the price, this time from 835 Naira to 825 Naira per litre. Is this a coincidence?
No, madam. I have always said it, and I want the audience. I think at times, this type of program, we need to maybe even have board so that we do like my friend does, Rilwan, Bismarck Rilwan. We need a board at times. Because if you don't do some micro-analysis, microeconomics, to show capital costs, investing in refineries, capital costs in producing crude oil, capital costs in mobilizing all the 4 factors of production, and then your OPEX, operating costs, on day-to-day basis. Before you just arrive, when they make such subjective statement that, oh, petrol can even be 500 naira, can even be 10 naira, I agree. Those are wishful thinking. When you break down all the cost inputs, all the ingredients that you are going to agglomerate to make a liter of petrol, you will now see that that wishful thinking will just be wiped out within 1 hour of a good explanation, where you break down all the quantities. So, Saudi Arabia, America, they have all the technology properly assembled. So, it's easy for them to run the numbers. So, what we are doing in Nigeria is that we are doing, most of the consumers in Nigeria and the citizens, we are doing wishful thinking because we believe that we have the crude. We believe that we have the gas, so the price will be so cheap. We have forgotten that the input into bringing them to become usable, they are not input within your control and my control. Take rice. Let's even leave oil and gas. Just take rice. You can pour seedling at the back of your house during rainy season and rice will grow. But till today, madam, is rice cheap? So petrol is not cheap. People think it's cheap. Even drinkable water, potable water is not cheap. Because the technology, unless you go to spring in the villages, in the countryside, to get from spring water to drink. But potable water that you have to invest technology to treat and process to be free of iron and sodium is not cheap, madam. Right. So, yes, I don't blame us. This is our life. It's not our fault. We want things to be cheap, if possible, to be free, like air. But even quality air today, is it free? Quality air is not free. So, I think we should just not, Naira for crude does not mean,
Mr. Dankume,
does not mean
I get that. And you
yeah.
haven't answered the second part of that question. And I asked the question because, many understand that the price of PMS is a function of the exchange rate, being an internationally benchmarked product. And it's also important to note that while some maintain that this is spiritual pricing, and I know we had this discussion about a month ago, some say this is what the market needs, competition. And you're maintaining, I mean, you said it last time that Dangote Refinery is doing us a favor by slashing its prices. Is it still the same thing? Is that what is still happening?
Yeah. Yes, madam, this issue of exchange rate, let me situate it properly for you and the audience to see clearly. If you take petrol, it's a global commodity, it's benchmark. So the average price of a liter of petrol from any refinery in the world, depending on the age of that refinery and depending on the quality of crude that is being fed in, the average may be about, it depends, 60 cents. Just say 60 cents. So if it is 60 cents to produce, and you have to now add your margin and everything, if you produce it at 60 cents in Nigeria, either in Port Harcourt or Kaduna or Lagos, by the time you now translate it with the exchange rate, madam, so I hope you can see why some of these theories we just banned about in the beer parlor doesn't work like that. If you take 60 cents times 1,600, already, madam, how much does that translate to? So it's a very simple issue, but the way people complicate it by saying, oh, it's supposed to be so cheap. Yes, it can look like 2 + 2 is 4, But it doesn't work out like that, because you are going to amortize the age of the refinery processes that you have accumulated. You have to recover the money, and then maintenance of the refinery. So it's not as simple as to just say the international price of petrol is 60 cents, and therefore when it gets to Nigeria, the exchange rate is a factor, madam. It's a factor because you don't have sufficient dollar. Your dollar income is very weak because your export is weak.
Right. So has that now contributed to Dangote Refinery further slashing its pump price, its petrol price? Yes.
The advantage that Dangote Refinery is having today across Africa is the scale, the capacity he has brought to bear. If you add up the 4 refineries of government, 445,000 barrels per day, the 4 refineries of government, Dangote is 650,000. So if Dangote is running in full capacity, he will produce close to 50 million liters of PMS per day, depending on the quality and the type of crude he feeds in. Okay. So if Nigerian government refineries, the 4 refineries are running in full capacity, 445,000 barrels per day, if they are running in full capacity, none of the 4 combined will never do more than 16 million liters per day. So, madam, now that sheer scale that Dangote has brought to the market is what is giving him an advantage to adjust the price, because the scale is huge. If he's losing 20 cents or 10 cents in a day, he can absorb it. So this is where the game is. Okay. It is just that scale. So it's not and in any case, let us get it clear also. It's not that Dangote is not wishing to sell petrol very cheap. He would have wished to sell the petrol very cheap if, for example, federal government of Nigeria, NNPC, is giving Dangote 650,000 barrels of crude oil per day at Naira. Then the man will sit down with them and say, okay, let's work it out. Your local need is this. Okay, I will give you at a discounted price. The balance I will export for dollar. So we can balance the account. So, but in this case, how much is the percentage of crude he is getting locally?
All right. All right then.
So he has to buy the remaining, and again,
address that, because some are already saying this is an intentional strategy. I mean, they say price reduction may seem consumer friendly, but we must be bothered by how this may influence monopoly, which is not what we want in that sector. Because if the end goal is to deliberately reduce prices to eliminate competition and subsequently increasing them, once rivals are weakened or eliminated, how then is that being favorable to poor Nigerians? But let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue this conversation.
Madam. Okay.
Right. Okay. Please stay with us, everyone.
Good morning, Marina Station and all the passengers. Efficient, it's comfortable.
This development will go a long way in reducing congestion and emission.
The trains are a long-term solution to Lagos traffic challenges.
This is where we take the final, decisions on policies, programs of government. I will have to ensure that, the narration of Lagos as a PLC is taken very, very seriously.
This is a major pedestrian bridge linking Oyingo here to Apapa Road over there.
With this overpass, we are providing what we call a permanent solution.
This place is one of the most dangerous areas at the biosecurity environment.
This can go into the news and every crumbs of your neighborhood.
Our goal is to remain as Africa's model megacity, to move our GDP from the 5-6 position to the 3rd position, and we believe it's achievable with all the commitments we have.
Explore the city of Lagos, where dreams are made and possibilities are endless. Amadedoja Salamadini, I live in Lagos, inside Lagos.
I'm Nifemi Oguntoye, news anchor with TVC News. My day is usually busy and it's difficult keeping up with breaking news stories, trending stories, business news, stock exchange and what have you. But with TVC News on WhatsApp, I'm able to catch up with all the breaking news, real-time updates and trending stories on the go right on my phone. No matter where I am, it's quick, easy and always on. And here you can join us by scanning the QR code or using the link on our X and Instagram. Why wait? Come to the side of news that keeps you ahead. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Welcome back to Politics Tonight. Thanks a lot for staying with us on the program. Tonight we're dissecting the Naira for crude policy, oil cabal and other matters in the petroleum sector. Energy consultant Dan Kunle is my guest tonight. Mr. Dan Kunle, thanks a lot for staying with us on the program. Let's move on quickly. You know, another critical issue is the belief that Nigeria's oil sector has long been influenced by entrenched groups, commonly referred to as oil cabals. Now, so many energy experts say this group of people exerts significant control over various aspects of the industry, from crude allocation, fuel importation to subsidy regimes and oil theft networks. I want you to speak to the existence and influence of the cabal in Nigeria's oil and gas sector. How do oil cabals exert influence over government policies and top regulatory agencies in the sector?
Jumoke, thank you very much. You know, just before we went on break, you know, there was a hanging issue about this cheap language, monopolies, which I believe is a very cheap language. It's also a product of laziness, because I don't see where the word monopoly should arise in this case. But that was the same cheap blackmail they paraded about cement. So I'm going to give if we have 5 minutes, we must follow economic history of our country. The economic history of Nigeria was tied to the British system. They were trading, Nigeria was a trading post. So most of the things we were doing in Nigeria was not proper manufacturing. That was what produces Leventis, Golden Penny, all of them in those days. PZ, John Holt, UTC, Square Tech, Square Track. So all these tractor and equipment, UAC. So all these companies, Niger Motors, all of them, they were just assembly in Nigeria. And some of the things they were selling were packed already. Sugar, Tate and Lye was the one bringing sugar to Nigeria. Tate and Lye is a British company. So check the history. Cement, we grew up to know Portland Cement, Elephant. Okay, which was coming largely from Wekoro, as Lafarge. Later it became Blue Circle to Lafarge. Okay, so then Sagamu came up. These are the two cement factories in the entire southwest. Then later on, you had the Niger Cement in the eastern part of Nigeria, Igu Cement. Okay, all these years, Nigeria were importing bulk cement. You remember the history of Amada Cement in 1974, 75, 76. Okay, so these people were not manufacturing enough. They were not producing enough locally, and we had enough limestone. So somebody came and said, oh, my parents or my grandparents were importing bulk cement to Apapa, and I grew up there. That was Aliko. He grew up in Apapa, bagging cement and selling cement dust. So he now saw the opportunity to say, why don't we manufacture locally? He went into it and scaled above Lafarge and Sagamu and Wekoro, and scale above everybody. It's about scaling. So then later they now blackmail him and said they blackmailed Dangote Group and said they are monopolies. So that, let's settle that one properly. He never stopped the Lafarge of this world from expanding. He never stopped Calcem in Calabar from expanding. He never stopped Igu Cement in Niger, in eastern Nigeria from expanding. The same game now the same cheap blackmail is being thrown around cheaply that monopoly is coming. Let's take the oil and gas industry. Federal government of Nigeria invested in building 4 refineries. Okay, let's say 3 because 1 was inherited. So the capacity of these 4 refineries, madam, is 445,000 barrels per day. And in 2007, madam, these 2 of these 4 refineries were privatized by President Obasanjo, 2006-2007. And the group led by Dangote and Femi Otedola bought 2 of those refineries, Port Harcourt and Kaduna. They paid. Government collected the money. Immediately government changed. They say, oh, Obasanjo have sold the refinery to his boys. They refunded their money to them. They lost money. They lost money in interest, charges, in fee, consultant. So now let us go to the issue. The issue is that if out of that frustration, you now go into investing money in building a refinery of $20 billion between 2007 and 2024, you erected a refinery of 650,000 barrels as a private investor in Nigeria. And government-owned 4 refineries, 445, have not, number 1, been rehabilitated. They are not functioning in these last 18 years. Now, immediately you hit the market, you start producing from your $20 billion refinery. The next story now is that there is a group now saying, oh, they have fear of monopoly. Where is the fear? When they said they don't want to be named Cabal. Okay, when they were the rentier group that invested money poorly, because the life cycle of every business, including our own life as individual, is that you start small, you grow the graph up, the graph we play to, like our age, like man, we play to, our children take over. So if the industry these people invested in, as depot owner, as transporter, as everything, if that industry has come to age, to now go into a new phase, it is natural for you to see this resistance and cheap blackmails all over the place that one monopolist has come. It is because the new investor who came into the marketplace has come with higher agility, higher capacity, higher modernity in technology assemblage. So for
Mr.
that reason,
I wonder why you call this cheap blackmail, because if $20 billion has been used to set up a refinery and the refinery continues to reduce prices, isn't that counterproductive? Because also,
Jumoke, let me clear one thing. Please, let's clear one thing very well. During these years, from 2007, we are in 2025 now. That is solid 18 years. The refinery owned by government and all the licenses that President Obasanjo issued, about 18, for people to invest in private refinery, none came to fruition. Government owned never work. Those licenses, none of them, except Aradel, Watersmith, they are small mini refineries. Okay. Now, Madam Jumoke, how can government and a group of people have been the one importing petrol into the country, and NNPC have been telling us that they were going to fix the refinery since 2008, that the privatization was stopped. So if government did not fix the refinery since that 2008, to date, madam, there are items for rehabilitation of Kaduna refinery that were delivered in 2016, madam. They are there physically. You can visit it and ascertain what I am saying. I'm saying it with authority. They are there rusting away in containers, in wooden crates. So if government controlled by NNPC could not fix these refineries, and a group of people who now call themselves DAPMAN have been enjoying the monopoly of government, because it was only government that was importing through this group. Okay, now a new player came in The new group are now unhappy, madam. When the collaboration they needed, I expected the midstream downstream regulator to arrange a transition period, call these people that have been in this game and say, come, your midstream downstream business is being threatened. Oh, come to the table. Let us work out, because this country cannot continue to import. We import and enrich some countries and pauperize our people. That is not sustainable. So even if the masses don't know now, they are getting to know more. So the winner is Dangote and the Nigerian people. Dangote group they are the winner and the Nigerian people.
Dan,
so I don't.
Be clear.
So it's not a question of.
Let's be clear, sir.
Yeah.
What you have insinuated tonight is that this cabal, this group of persons, are behind what you have just called the cheap blackmail, and they're also the persons trying to frustrate Dangote refinery. Is that what you have just said? No, madam. No, madam. Please, I go by empirical and valid evidences. Okay. It is what I read in the Punch I refer to. Okay. So me, I don't go to a global television station and just talk carelessly. I am referring to what I read, where they allege that Aliko Dangote said it is the cabal that are look, this group, madam, they have invested money in building depot, in owning trucks, and in owning maybe petrol station. Yes, they were in business. The same way Leventis was in business in Nigeria. Biwak, they were all in business. Everybody was in business in those days. But if the foundation of your business, if the structure of your business has gone through a period of metamorphosis, and you have now reached a point in the graph of life that business has to regrow, have to rearrange, a paradigm shift, you have to face the reality. And the reality today is collaboration. There is no fight. This thing is not a fight. It's collaboration. Come to table. Let us collaborate, because I have capacity to give you up to 48 million liters of petrol per day. Even the story, madam, let's even go like this. Let's assume the Dapman people had put money together over the years and say, okay, give us Porako refinery or Warri, we will fix it with our own money. We are as serious as that. But because they were enjoying the parasitic arrangement with NNPC, they were in cohort with NNPC to be importing and making margins. So you remember the scandal of 2013-14? Yes. With the PPRA. If you remember the case, some of those cases are still hanging in the EFCC, not yet closed. So why they think the masses of this country are beginning to understand the structure of the industry? And President Tinubu has just done what is right by removing the subsidy. And he has done what is right, importantly now, by putting a new management in NNPC. So that the midstream downstream regulatory authority is the next stage of reform now. So that midstream downstream regulatory authority has to be reformed, because they are the one who's supposed to midwife. They are the one who's supposed to midwife the people in the midstream downstream business to have an alignment with Dangote refinery that has brought capacity to the market. Because the government-owned refinery that they are referring to every day, they will not work. And even if they work, they cannot bring the desired volume to the marketplace. So why are we beating around the bush? Why are we pretending? So how long are we going to pretend? We are pretended for. Mr. Dankule, so that we don't continue to beat around the bush, I wanted us to talk about this oil cabals or cabal, because you know what we hear is that these cabals often operate with impunity, undermining reforms and economic progress. But for those who may not know so much, please help us. To what extent do these cabals control the allocation of crude oil and fuel import licenses? Jumoke, you see, I am very careful. Why I am careful, and I will tell you why. You know, there is so much sentiment and emotion, because this business has to do with loans. People took loan. But I'm going to give you one example of what happened. When the reform for the oil and gas sector started, we said free the retail outlets of the country. So Nigeria government privatized Unipetro that become Oando.
Nigeria government privatized AP. Nigeria government privatized National Oil, which is corn oil now. AP is the one you call Fortune FO, but they are back to AP now. So now, when Nigeria government removed their hand and sold all this, so the downstream was free, became private, all true. Now, what happened? NNPC went ahead and now set up a retail outlet, a retail company. And in the last 20 years, NNPC has cleverly taken over the business of the private sector, of the private people, this same that man who invested their money, borrowed money, their own banks, most of them, they borrowed money. That's where I say it's sentimental and very emotional. That is why, because I have feelings for them. I have friends among them. And I know the pains they are going through. So I don't want a situation where they will be looking somewhere else. Right. Why their problem is right under their feet. Their problem is that they collaborated with NNPC to undermine their own business. And I will prove it. Why will NNPC go back to buy Oando? For example, why will they go back to buy Oando? Which means NNPC want to build an empire, a monster that now control vertically from exploration, production of crude, refining, and retailing. So you can imagine. Meanwhile, nothing. Just watch. I'm going to give you an empirical finding. Have you seen any one government business since 1960 to date that is profitable, that has made profit? Show me one. Only LLNG. And I will prove to you, NAFCON, National Nigerian Fertilizer Company in Port Harcourt, was a fortune company. The capacity was no more than about 300,000 tons per year of urea and maybe about 600,000 tons of ammonia. I can't remember. But it was to be a fortune company. But go and check the history. It was run down. We liquidated it. It was run down. So only LLNG is successful. And I will prove it if we have time. LLNG Bonny is successful because Shell is the leader. Total is a shareholder. Ajip is a shareholder. So the three of them combined own 51%. So they lead. They lead technical, financial, commercial, they lead. So Nigeria is just 49% shareholder, and you just sit down and watch how the game is played.
I'm also very curious.
Tell me, madam, no, I'm coming. Okay. NEPA, no, madam, railway was run down. So why will we allow NNPC to go back to that vertical monopoly? NEPA was vertical monopoly. We unbundle it. Even though they are claiming now that the privatization was wrong, another day we will prove that one. The privatization was not wrong. It was because of political propaganda in 2015 that destroyed the electricity industry of this country. It's political propaganda. So now, if you watch it, madam, railway never worked. It was Nigeria. All the refinery never worked. It was Nigeria. Ajakuta never worked. It was Nigeria government. Aluminum smelter is there stranded. It has never worked. It's because Nigeria.
All right, then. Still, I get your point.
Take Delta Steel. So why will we allow? No, madam. Why will we allow NNPC to go back to vertical monopoly? So the Dapman people who have built petrol stations across the country, tank farm all over the place, they went and they were aligning with NNPC to do their business without setting up their own refineries.
Kindly hold on, sir. The NNPCL has a new leadership. But all of these you've said about the NNPCL, is there how does it relate to the persistent crude oil theft in the Niger Delta? Also, have security agencies become complicit in protecting oil cabals involved in illegal bunkering? And you know, I asked that question based on, you do not have enough time. Kindly hold on, sir. I asked that question based on the different scenarios we've witnessed in this country. Nigerians are still asking, how does a vessel kindly hold on, Mr. Dankule, we don't have enough time. You know, Nigerians are asking, how does a vessel like MT Tura 2 disappeared from EFCC custody and operates illegally for 12 years without detection? Also, the conversation about oil theft didn't start today. People are being arrested every day, operations busted, but why has no top oil thief ever been successfully prosecuted despite billions lost annually? Who is protecting them? That's part of the conversation.
Jumoke, whenever they talk about crude oil theft in Nigeria, I will just be cautious for a reason. You know, we exaggerate many things in this country, and you know we sell dummy to government. I sounded very cautiously during President Buhari's era, I think 2021. I said it's very doubtful. There can be marginal theft, marginal losses, technical losses, and maybe some misbehavior here and there. But Jumoke, I will point it to you. If that scale of stealing was going on, madam, in this country, are we now saying that Shell or Chevron or ExxonMobil or Total, that were the major producer, are we now saying that they are the one that were stealing the crude? Where is the scientific evidence to prove it? So when they sold that dummy to us in this country, that so much, I had a former Senate president in Nigeria say they say about 400,000 even the former CBN governor even also was among the people banding figures. Madam, they have never proved it to us, which means anything you cannot prove, don't go about to say it. Be cautious, be circumspect. All those claims is still part of the fraud that were weaved together to cover up the level of inefficiency, the gross inefficiency that regime of NNPC was running. But I'm happy now that the President Tinubu has cleared that place. I'm happy. So and we want to see a new life in NNPC. We want to see a new life in NNPC. So sure I don't believe in those figures they were bandying about theft. But I have told you scientifically there are technical losses, there are maybe some misbehavior here and there, but not up to that volume they were claiming, madam.
This is a very critical conversation, and I'm sure we're going to have this conversation some other time, sooner than later. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today. Dan Kuli, Energy Consultant, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll have this conversation very soon. Thanks a lot for joining us, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you very much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But before we go, let's tell you that the views and reactions of our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News. Meanwhile, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at midnight. Get in touch with us on our social media handle.